Welcome to The Explainer. So today we're diving into a really fascinating short source text that serves as, honestly, a profound case study on human behavior. It's this brief, everyday vignette about a family just trying to head out for a movie. But as we unpack the layers of this story, you're going to see it reveals so much about psychology, control, and how our inner worlds project onto the people around us. All right, let's just jump right into it.
Picture this scene for a second. A family is getting ready for a highly anticipated out. The energy should be high, everyone should be excited, but instead, the whole thing completely derails because of one tiny detail, a scratch on the car door. Now, it's a minor, practically microscopic flaw that has actually already been touched up, but in the context of this story, this tiny cosmetic blemish has the absolute power to bring an entire family's day to a screeching halt.
Just notice the absolute nature of Mama's statement here. I cannot get into this car. It's not a preference. It's not a slight annoyance. It is an utter refusal to engage with something that falls short of her flawless standard. We are immediately thrust right into the middle of a conflict, where a touched-up scratch isn't just a scratch, it's an impassable roadblock.
Section 1. The Scratched Door Crisis.
What's truly striking here is the massive leap in logic. So Papa explains that he actually got the touch-up done, but he points out that it's never going to be a perfect color match. And Mama's response? She demands he get the entire car painted. Think about the utter impracticality of that demand for a second. Repainting a whole vehicle is a massive, expensive, and time-consuming undertaking, all to erase a single minor cosmetic blemish. It really shows us that for the perfectionist, there's absolutely no such thing as good enough. It's either flawless or the whole shebang has to be redone.
But while Mama and Papa are caught up arguing over car paint, I want you to think about the number 3. That number represents the real emotional stakes of this delay, because their 10-year-old daughter, Risha, has been waiting exactly 3 weeks to see a newly released animation movie. Her excitement, her anticipation, all that childhood joy, it is currently placed on indefinite hold because of a scratch on a car door. The collateral damage of this perfectionism is already beginning to show.
Section 2. The Perfectionist's Logic.
So when Papa, who is utterly baffled at this point, asks her what is wrong, Mama delivers this incredibly revealing line. "Everything I have should reflect who I am." This proves beyond a shadow of a doubt that Mama's perfectionism isn't actually about the car at all. It is deeply tied to her ego, her personal identity, and really, her need for control. In her mind, a flawed car literally means a flawed self. If she accepts a scratched door, she genuinely believes she is accepting a scratched identity. It's got to be an exhausting way to navigate the world. But to her, it is a deeply held truth.
Section 3. The Rental Car Paradox.
Now, Papa, desperately trying to figure out a solution to this very tense moment, points out a massive contradiction in Mama's behavior. On one side, owned items like their family car must be absolutely perfect because they reflect her identity. But on the other side, rental cars. Papa points out she happily gets into rental cars that have scratches all over them, and Mama immediately justifies this by saying, well, rental cars don't belong to her. This brilliantly illustrates the mental compartmentalization and cognitive dissonance required to maintain her worldview. You see, the scratch itself isn't the problem, the ownership of the scratch is.
Just notice the sheer irony of the resolution here. Papa offers to book a rental cab, and Mama agrees. So the cab arrives, it has scratches all over it, and Mama gets into it happily. The crisis is instantly resolved not by fixing a flaw, but by shifting the boundary of ownership. Because the scratched cab doesn't belong to her, her ego is safe, her identity is totally protected, and she can happily proceed with the day. It's a truly fascinating look at the mental gymnastics of perfectionism.
Section 4. The Family's True Burden.
Now, the event itself might be over, but the tangible burdens are very, very real. Papa is left worrying about the massive impending financial cost of repainting a car. Little Rich's highly anticipated 3-week wait for an animation movie was completely overshadowed by tension. And as we'll see shortly, this rigid standard leads to incredible waste in their daily life, like throwing away perfectly good fresh vegetables.
Let's look closely at Papa's internal realization here. He knows the repainting demand is totally impractical. He rightly notes that a new scratch could appear the very next day. So he realizes he is in an unwinnable situation. He knows his wife will stick to her ground, and he's basically left carrying the quiet stress of an impossible demand. Actually, it's like he's forced to act as the shock absorber for her rigid worldview.
What's deeply insightful, though, is the awareness of 10-year-old Richa. After the dust settles, she asks her father, "Does Mama have OCD?"
This really shows us how children internalize the chaos around them. Richa isn't just a passive observer here. She's actively attempting to diagnose and make sense of her mother's highly rigid, difficult behaviors. Even at 10, she clearly recognizes that this is not a normal reaction to a car scratch.
And Papa's response is incredibly telling. Maybe she can get very difficult at times. He doesn't deny it. He doesn't try to make excuses for it. His defeated, one-word opening, maybe, underscores the daily exhaustion he faces. He admits he doesn't get the issue at all, noting their car is far better than the scratched rental they took. He is just a partner who is completely weary from constantly navigating an unyielding set of rules. Which brings us to this really powerful final anecdote recalled by little Richa. She concludes that the next few months are going to be tough. Why? Because she has watched her mother take fresh vegetables and throw them straight into the waste bin just because they had a bit of mud on them and weren't clean enough. It perfectly encapsulates the tragedy of this behavior. Perfectionism in this form doesn't create beauty. It creates waste. It throws away perfectly good food, perfectly good cars, and perfectly good family outings, all in the pursuit of an impossible standard.
So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this thought. We all have standards, right? We all like things to be nice. But based on what we've analyzed today, when does a personal standard for perfection cross the line into becoming a destructive burden on the people we love? At what point does the desire to reflect a flawless identity end up scratching and damaging the relationships right in front of us? It's a razor-thin line between high standards and collateral family damage, and honestly, it's a question well worth exploring in our own lives. Thanks for hanging out with me for this explainer, and keep questioning the whys behind the actions around you.